Hello everyone, welcome back to Sadhaka. This is a Facebook Live show where I interview different yoga teachers and practitioners about their personal practice. And I'm here today with Reilly Nichols. Mary and I actually just recorded a Chitheads interview, which is going to be released this weekend, most likely. So be sure to check that out. It's a really fascinating interview where we talk about a lot of really juicy philosophical topics and get to hear a little bit about her story with Swami Muktananda. So, hello Mary.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me for this second interview of the day. So we're here to talk about, as with the other episodes, we talk about practices, and so Mary and I decided we'd talk a little bit about pranayama. But first, Mary, if you want to talk a little bit about your own personal practice and sort of maybe when pranayama became something that really you realized the profundity of or the importance of.
Well, I first was having pranayama as a spontaneous arising thing from the awakened Kundalini, which we talked about in our other interview. But what happened was that in my real life goings and comings, I started to really use pranayama, and I use it all the time, and I teach it. And I really feel working with breath is an easy, everybody has it, and it's something that is always there, it's right under your nose, and it's a very, very powerful way to change your consciousness. So, and I need to, because I'm anxious. I'm anxious all the time.
Yeah. So actually, let's pause real quick and go back and just say what pranayama is, in case some people have never heard of pranayama. What does pranayama mean, and what is it essentially?
In my view, prana, is breath. Really, if you study and you get into it, prana is more subtle than breath.
Right.
In fact, the breath is one aspect of prana. There are 5 pranas in the body, and alone, and 2 of them are the inhalation and exhalation that you can work with.
Yeah.
Ayama, there's a couple of ways to translate, but ayama is to extend. So it's the extension or lengthening of prana is partly what it is, but it's also extending your life. There is some notion that's probably universal in olden days, where there's an idea that you get a certain amount of allotted breaths per lifetime. So if you breathe longer, and you're going to live longer, because you got this many breaths.
So could the extension of pranayama, or the extension of prana, it doesn't necessarily mean just in a linear way? Do you think it also means like in a deeper, more expansive way as well?
Yes, I think that's a great thought. You extend it by breathing more fully in and more fully out. And as you know, you can also use the breath as a meditative focus, which is extremely powerful. So pranayama is something we should all know about and learn how to do.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have you lead us through a practice of pranayama in just a second. But if you want to talk a little bit about maybe on your path when you said you had a spontaneous sort of experience of pranayama, but pranayama as a practice, it's incorporated into asana automatically, because you're breathing with your shapes, and you're breathing with the poses. But in what way can pranayama be done outside of asana, or is it always within asana?
No, I'm doing it all the time. Okay, I'll give you an example. So I have to, I take a commuter train into the city to do my work, and there's 4 minutes to get to the train, or if I would get out the door, I can get there in 4 minutes, but maybe it's 6 minutes before I got to get there, and I can't find my keys. Now, I could go into full tilt, freaking, maybe I'll even scream and yell if I'm in fight or flight. That would be the sympathetic nervous system taking over and being reactive. And it's not that useful, right? So what I automatically do is the cooling breath, which is, I'm going to do it right now, and I'll teach it more specifically in a moment, but it's like this. You go like that. So I'm sipping the air, that was an inhalation, and I feel the coolness on my tongue. But what's happening is it lengthens the breath, and when the breath becomes long, your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the aspect of your nervous system which is calming, assimilating, you're digesting when the parasympathetic is on, and it's mindful. It's choice. It's not reaction, it's choice. So, if you're too parasympathetic, you won't get out of bed, okay? We like both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, but sympathetic is fight or flight. You know how it is when you lose it.
Yeah.
Usually you're not proud of yourself and you're yelling and screaming. It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
So I use my cooling breath all day long when I'm anxious.
Yeah.
And I am anxious all the time.
Well, it must be it sounds like a really important practice today, given how sped up society is and
Yes.
how prone to anxiety we are just as a result of the increased speed of
Yes.
consumer society. So why don't you offer us maybe one or two practices that we can do kind of, based on that idea of maybe just needing attention to the breath in our life in general.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you the practices. I have a couple that are in mind. One is going to have breath holding in it.
Okay.
And you will see also that Patanjali advocates breath holding, and then it's all throughout the different texts. And then there's going to be the cooling breath.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going to do the breath holding first, since we just talked about the cooling breath. So there's two ways you can hold your breath. You can hold it in or you can hold it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, little secret here is that when you hold your breath, you get a cascade of dopamine.
Mm.
And dopamine is desire. It's a reward chemistry, very interesting stuff. You can read about it. But people who are low dopa are very, very depressed, and they get to the point where they don't even want to breathe. So if you hold your breath, your body thinks something's terribly wrong, you're not breathing, give you some more dopamine to give you the desire to breathe. That urgency of having to exhale or inhale after you hold your breath comes from a dopaminergic surge.
Wow.
All right? So we'll do a breath holding out and a breath holding in.
Okay.
So let's take a nice posture.
Okay.
So your ears are over your shoulders, your ribs are over your hips. And we're going to take a full inhalation. Let's do it through our nose. Okay, so breathe into the belly and hold. Now as you hold the breath, you're going to let your belly expand a little bit. I'm going to count. 3, hold your breath. 2, and now let it out. But now just assess your state.
Love a little buzz.
Don't you? Hey, wasn't that easy? That's what it's all about. Doesn't that just change everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll do another inhalation with breath holding, and this is kumbhak.
Okay.
Eventually we understand that as kumbhak. It's another conversation. But this time, let's do the cooling breath to breathe in. That's the pursed lips breath I talked about. We'll purse our lips. We're going to feel the coolness on our tongue as we breathe in. Go together. We go. Now hold. Press it down. Hold 3. Can't wait to breathe out 2. And exhale. Any way you like. Feel it?
Yeah.
So, and now we're going to do a 1, because we're already changed enough to we don't even want to talk, right? We're feeling the buzz. But we'll do 1 exhale and hold it out.
Okay.
Okay, that's an external kumbhak, called, I think, DHAKA.
Is there a name for the one we just did?
Kumbhak,
Okay.
Kumbhak,
Okay.
and we did a short one, and then we're going to do a short, I think it's called DHAKA when you exhale and hold it.
Okay,
Let's try it
good.
together.
All right.
Okay, external kumbhak. So
Okay.
we inhale, and now we're going to exhale, but let's do this. Let's hiss as we exhale. Explain that later. Go. Good. Now hold the breath out. Don't breathe in. Dopamine is on the surge. Hold it. You're going to feel really needy to do it because dopamine is really increasing. Hold 3. Hold 2. Now inhale. And that we'll do. Let's do another.
Okay.
And when you after you hold your breath out, you always take a full inhalation. So if people say I can't breathe in deeply, I don't know how to do it, just breathe all the way out and hold it. You'll breathe in deep. Let's
Okay.
try it together. Okay, when we hiss, it works the musculature, okay? You've got this transversus abdominis, and it's just a good thing to do.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
And it also, by the way, in pranayama, giving the breath a sound, making it cause sound, is helpful because it brings the attention
Yes.
to the breath, making it have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rather than like almost amorphous, you can't feel it. Make it, when we do cooling breath, we feel it. And when we hiss, we hear it and we feel it.
Yeah.
It's a little helpful.
Mhm.
Okay. Breathing in. We're going to hiss out. We're going to go. Now, hold that breath out. Hold. We'll just count 3. Can't wait to breathe in 2. Take the breath in now, gratefully. Gratitude, which is something we all know is a beneficial attitude, happens automatically when you hold the breath.
Mm.
Because once you inhale, there's this sense of satiety.
Yeah.
And you're being grateful just for breath.
Mm. Yeah, what I love about pranayama is it's just such an obvious physiological response. I mean, it really is. It's the dopamine. I never realized it was dopamine that was being sort of called forth, but it does have such a kind of, it clears things out so quickly. It really does like clarify things. So that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, do you want to share anything else about pranayama before we leave?
Yeah, I would like to add
Yes.
that I do this thing which is incredibly simple and easy,
Mhm.
which is I love, okay, when I'm doing a little pranayama, I'm doing my cooling breath, or I have nothing better to do and I'm walking around, I love my breath, okay? So I you know what love is, and people say, what are they talking about love? Well, you love your dog, you love chocolate, you love something,
Mm.
you know the feeling, it's a cherishing. You do that to your breath, and then what you're doing is you're cultivating the chemistry, the neurochemistry of love, and it gets into your cells. Your cells have receptors. So you can be in bliss just by adoring your breath. And there's much deeper philosophical and scriptural reason to understand the love of the prana as a great way, you know, to...
Well, it's just so accessible. I mean, I think the idea of adoring your breath and falling in love with your breath, it's a very radical idea, because the breath, for most people, unless they are engaged in a yoga practice, it's just something unconscious. They don't think about it. You know, there's so much that can be read into the breath.
Mm-hmm.
So much about someone's character and personal disposition is evidenced in the way that they breathe.
So true.
And the idea of you know, having affection for your breath, like seeing your breath as sacred, developing a relationship with it, I think is so powerful. And like I said, like it's a radical act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy too.
Cool. Yeah, easy.
We like easy.
It's easier than all that other stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, God. All right, thank you so much, Mary. This has been such a pleasure. For those of you out there who would like to, where is my little machine here? Get on our mailing list, and you can get information about when our episode with Mary gets released, the Chitheads episode that we just recorded. Go ahead and text the word embody, E-M-B-O-D-Y, to the number 44222. And then there's also a special discount code for you if you want to download any of our video talks from our masterclass collection. And that discount code, as you can see on the video, is Sadhaka15. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody. It's been such a pleasure. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Thanks, Mary. Bye-bye.
Bye.